We have roll call. Where shall we start? You want to start with you, Shane?
Shane Harrington. Mike Cully.
Aaron Carrier?
Joe Monroe.
Andrew Tongsai.
Bob Droll.
All right. And we have Amy Hargrove is excused and, Joel, right? Joel
Joel is unable to attend due to technical difficulties from his.
Joel Hecker. Did I say that? All right. So do we have any changes to our agenda for this evening?
I thought I would update you on the city administrator search.
Great.
Council met and approved any names or feedback on?
Want that now?
Let's
No,
go
agenda.
to the, we'll get there.
Yeah, sorry.
Let's get there. How about, do we have a motion to approve our minutes from our February 15th meeting?
So moved. Second.
All in favor of approving our minutes from February 15th, 2023, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. I will add the parking to the agenda.
Who are the participants online? Do we know?
I don't see anyone online.
It says 3.
There's 3 of us.
There's the room. Three.
Yeah.
Probably tie.
Jerome and Martha.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any public comment for this evening?
It may be it may be Martha.
You're trying to get the technology to let Martha talk.
Can you hear?
Martha, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I did provide a statement in email today also, but I am happy to answer any questions or clarify any points. And this is regarding the.
Could you start,
Trails in
Martha,
Park.
excuse me, could you start by introducing yourself and give us your address?
Absolutely. My name is Martha Grimm and my address is 1541 77th Trail Southeast in Tumwater, 98501.
Thank you. Great, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
And Martha, could you, I don't have your email. Could you reiterate what you wanted to tell to the commission tonight?
Sure. It's actually, I had prepared something if you want to hear. Is this time? Do we want to hear that now?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm just writing to provide input to the proposal for the construction of the new park entrance, or it's the park entrance at the back near my property. I live in the cul-de-sac on 77th Trail Southeast. And then on this side of 77th Trail, there's 32 houses. And as a responsible member of this community, I believe that it's critical important to prioritize the safety of our residents, and the placement of the proposed entrance. It poses a significant risk to the well-being of our community. If such an entrance, or I don't know if it's supposed to be a footpath entrance, through this easement, or if it was meant for, I think it's not meant for a road. I think it was just for walking. The increased foot traffic and vehicular congestion associated with park goers could result in a variety of safety issues, such as accidents, collisions, and encounters with strangers who may pose a risk to the neighborhood. The children on 77th Trail Southeast play safely on this road, knowing there's no through traffic or other outlets. Additionally, the noise and commotion associated with the park entrance could lead to a host of quality of life issues that would negatively impact the peaceful environment that our community has worked so hard to maintain. Given the serious concerns, I urge the commission to plan the park entrance and exits at the front and sides of the park. This would also be a cost savings for the park project overall. And these alternatives options would allow for a safe and responsible enjoyment of our park while minimizing the potential risks to our residents. And as a member of the community, We all share the responsibility to promote policies and practices, that safeguard the well-being of our families and neighbors. And I believe that we can work together to find a solution that truly serves the best interests of everyone involved. And I appreciate your time. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks. Yeah, we do have a question.
Sure.
Hi, Martha, this is Mike Cully. You had mentioned, and the dog.
Yeah, we're getting the dog out of the room.
Don't worry. You had mentioned to relocate the entrance to the front and sides. Could you be more specific on what you're referring to on the map, where you would prefer to have the entrances?
Yeah, so I live, so where the retention, I think, pond that you're looking to have, that's where we live, and it comes into the cul-de-sac. So really that would be, I would think that would be the back of the park, having a footpath at the back. I think that the front would be either the Trails End Road, 79th. So Trails End and Arab really would be the sides I'm referring to, and the front would be 79th for the entrance, and then I'm thinking of sides there on Trails
Okay,
Arab.
great. Thanks, Martha, for your input. We had not made any firm plans about a connection with that cul-de-sac, and so we appreciate getting your input on that.
Absolutely.
Martha, this is Chuck Denny, the Parks and Recreation Director. To alleviate your concerns about that, we don't have an entrance exit planned on 77th. That's a private street owned, I assume, by your HOA. It's not maintained by the city. And while we generally require developments to put in connections like those, like you have in your neighborhood to this property, for a future trail connection, we don't have it planned at this time. So that will be developed into a storm pond. There'll be some kind of planting screening that goes along that area. So no worries about sending.
Well, look at our public works, right? I asked, I received. Wow, this was easy. Politics are awesome. I know it's way more involved than all of this. No, and I do appreciate your time. I wanted to kind of get on board early. I've been to the community events, and I really enjoyed the time and effort that you've taken to take the public and our input. So I wanted to make sure that I was in line.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to provide the input. That's what makes this all work. The Parks Commission is going to further develop the plan tonight, and then we'll be back to your neighborhood probably in May to have another public meeting to ask you and your neighbors how we did and what you think of the more developed plan.
That's awesome. I really appreciate this body's work.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So if we don't have any other public comment, then we can move on to the Trails End Park Master Planning process.
Okay, so we had a meeting last year in May to start on this park talk at the Trails End. And then we had a meeting March 29th that all at, which went very well and great attendance. Really happy with that, how that turned out. And again, a little shout out to the Kaufmans for letting us use their building. That was very convenient. And I think we'll be able to use it again. We've taken all the comments, and RW Droll has come up with a plan. You know, we've met and talked about what we heard and what we didn't hear, and what we liked and what we didn't like, what was realistic and maybe what wasn't, as far as placement on the site or cost of the thing, or if it was appropriate for a neighborhood park or not, and come up with a more refined plan to go over with you tonight. Bob and Ann will talk you through that, and then we want to get input and any questions from you. We're kind of staying away from specific costs at this time. We have general costs for things, and it is a big piece of land. It's going to be an expensive park to build, particularly if we do it all at once and don't do it in phases. I can almost guarantee it will cost more than we have set aside in the Metropolitan Park District fund for this facility. So we'll be looking at some options on what we're going to do when we get to that stage. But really tonight it's the focus on let's further develop the plan, go over what the neighbors told us, and see if we're on the right track. I'll turn it over to you guys.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Can we pull up the PDF?
And do we need to change Martha's already
She's already-
muted. Okay, we don't need to change that.
Yeah, we could take the mouse, Chuck, if that's easier. Or do you need
That
to
would be
share?
easier.
Okay. Are
Yeah,
you
you
sharing
can
the? So we'll present to the PDF on the screen, because we can zoom in and out. And looks like I'm sharing the PDF on the screen. So this is your agenda tonight. I'm gonna scroll down. This is our agenda for Trails End, which is the packet I've handed out. So we'll go over the first public meeting and the outcomes that came from that. Then we'll get into the next steps we took to compare all of the concepts and the matrices we came up, and the considerations we took with the program elements. And then we'll get into the preferred master plan that we created and came up with, and then the preferred theme that came out of the public meeting, and then we'll end with the discussion of phasing. Oh. Okay, so as Chuck mentioned, at the end of March, we had a really robust open house style public meeting. The community showed up. If I had to guess, maybe 50 people. They provided us a lot of comments in the end, and we had a lot of sticky notes on the boards. And by the end of the evening, we were able to see what the community's favored alternatives were. So we presented the 3 concepts. You guys did a great job presenting the concepts as well, and answering all of their questions. And they voted for concept A, there was 8 sticky dot votes. For concept B, there was 19 sticky dot votes. And for concept C, there was 22 sticky dot votes. So concept C ended up being the favorite of the 3. And I know you can't read all of those, but those are just a select few of the comments that we received. We received a lot in terms of comment cards and sticky notes. And the ones that we're showing in the PDF are comments that appeared several times. So we started to notice a sort of theme emerging from everyone's comments, and those are the ones we decided to put up there.
I can't read that.
I know,
Not
it's really
in-
small. Zoom in a little bit. I'm not gonna read every comment, but
That's why I wanted to
it'll
be
be
able to
there
see
for
it.
you, yeah. I wonder if I can minimize this.
Just grab the black bar and just click and drag. There you go.
I can put it away. Okay, so we also gave them a sticker to put on the program elements so that we could see which ones were their favorites. And there was a lot of stickers on pickleball, basketball, and the pump track, as well as a good number of stickers on the, a little slow. The number of stickers on the equestrian theme or the history of Trails End. So we saw the stickers for which program elements were popular, but out of the comments, we got a lot of comments. People liked the trails. People noted that there was a lot of dog users in the park. People really liked the pump track. And then there was a lot of comments concerning safety and people wanting to have neighborhood park scale. So they didn't want a park that would draw in the larger community. Okay.
This is in your packet.
Yeah, so this next one is in your packet, and it's concepts matrix. It's kind of hard to see on the screen. So what we did next, after reading through all the comments and having the public meeting, is that we created a matrix with concepts A, B, and C to compare the different program elements that we included. And we quantified some of those too, for example, the different sizes of the playground, the length of the trail. And we also included a column at the end for the preferred master plan and what we thought, based on the themes emerging from the comments, would be appropriate to include in that preferred master plan. And it's quantified here as well. And we made another matrix for the program elements because we wanted to dig into those a little bit deeper and have more consideration on which program elements and why they made it into the preferred master plan. And that's this next page. And this matrix is not included in your packet because it's a lot. So I'm going to go over it broadly to give you a better understanding of this program elements matrix. So we start by explaining which design elements were the same across all the concepts, which is the parking, the entrance location. Those are all the same throughout all the concepts. And then these next pages, we actually list out every single program element across all the concepts. And we weighed the considerations for each. For example, is it an appropriate scale for a neighborhood park? What size is the program element? We looked at the safety of each of the program elements. Does it work well with other program elements? We looked at if these program elements are found in other locations in your park system. Do you include them at other parks? So those are the types of considerations we looked at for each of the program elements. And through this exercise, we were able to determine what made sense to include, but also what made sense not to include. For example, the splash pad. So a splash pad would be a huge draw in your community. People would come from miles away to come to this park to go to the splash pad, and they're also expensive to install. So that's why we didn't include it in the preferred master plan. The other one was disc golf. There was a lot of popularity around disc golf at the event, but we determined that it would be an issue of safety if we were to include it because there's so many other program elements being proposed in the park that disc golf would be a hazard because it's interfering with the trail system, with the playground, you could easily get a disc into the roads even because it's surrounded by streets.
If I could add on that.
Sure.
You know, I tried really hard to get disc golf in. There's even 3 holes. And, you know, disc golf has got different type of disc. They're heavier, not just your Frisbee. And if someone gets hit with that, then disc golf gets really, really expensive. And disc golf, when we locate disc golf in other communities, it's usually in a community park that's got a lot of room, that's got enough room where that disc golf fairway is buffered from anything else. So if an errant disc goes off someplace else, chances of hitting anybody are pretty slim. That's not the case here. Safety is number one in everything we do in park design. So that's why we really had to, I couldn't make it fit. That's kind of, I didn't feel comfortable with it the way it was going, so that's why it's not in there.
I know Martha heard that. Safety is number one in park design.
Well, it is, yeah, I mean, it's gotta be.
Yeah, it is.
And, you know, we don't want anybody to get hurt, but we don't want to expose homeowner to unnecessary liability.
Yeah. So it's a great sport, but maybe not for this park.
Yep.
So this next page is the final part of the matrix. It's called functional relationships, and it's along the lines of what Bob just mentioned. So there's several principles that we use in our designs. Number one is accessibility. We want to make sure that all users can access the trail system, the program elements, and it's inclusive for everybody. 2 is safety, what Bob talked about. So we use SEPTED principles, which is the crime prevention through environmental design, and we, number one, want to make sure that the park is highly visible from the street, so from Trails End Drive to 79th. We want to ensure that when you're in the park, all the other program elements are visible to you. And then we want to make sure there are several access entry points into the park so we don't create any entrapments. So we've got access points along each of the streets. And then the other thing we consider is the layout or the orientation of all the program elements and how they relate to your site. So where's the best view in the park? And to us, that would be the kettle. And how do the program elements relate to that? And then how do they relate to each other? So if you have sport courts, do they need to be tucked away a little bit because they're a little bit noisier than maybe the picnic shelter area? Sorry, I'm struggling with this PDF.
That's great.
Okay, that works. This scrolly thing doesn't work very
I'm
quickly.
happy to see that, because I feel like it's always me.
Okay. It's the mouse. Okay, so now we can get into the preferred master plan alternative that we came up. And it's based off of option C, which was the public favorite, but also based on conversations that we've had with the park commission and the park board with all of you. And that's how we determined this layout. And it's a draft because we want your feedback. So the things that we carried over that's the same is we've got parking along Trails End, we've got the buffer and the bioswale to the north, we've also got a bioswale area down here up to the south. We are preserving the existing Gary Oak tree on site, and we're not providing any access into the kettle, and of course, no access into the 77th cul-de-sac to the north. The park core is along this western, closest to Trails End Drive. We've included a 6,000 square foot playground, which is comparable to a lot of your other neighborhood parks found in Tumwater. So the range was 5,000 to 6,000 square feet, so we put in the largest one. And then we've also included a fitness station, which is about 1,500 square feet, and it just provides another layer of recreation into the park. We've also added a pump track. Now, the ones in the alternatives we showed were 7,000 square feet, and the one we're proposing is only about 1,600 square feet, and it's a lot smaller. So you get to provide that recreation for bicycling. It's a beginner level pump track, and it won't be a huge draw in your community.
Is that smaller than the one that's in downtown Olympia,
About the same size.
about the same? Okay.
Yeah, but it won't be, rubber, it won't be.
Right. It's permanent, not.
Yeah, it'll be,
not a
right
portable.
now, we're scoping it out as being paved.
Right. Okay.
Asphalt.
But the
But-
intent of dropping it from 7 to 1,600 was to reduce what? Entrance?
The draw, yeah, so people wouldn't come miles away to come to this little pump track, but you're still providing that amenity to the immediate.
On the theory that you
neighbors.
can't join the Army as a general, this is a beginner track.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be very popular.
So in the ideal world, the next community park we do where we have ample land and funding, we would do a more serious contract.
Mm-hmm.
Be 7,000 square feet instead of 1,600.
And flush pad.
Yes.
And disc golf.
Yeah,
But we
familiarity,
But we drew it at 7 on
Yeah.
version C, which you saw, but we just reduced it by a significant amount.
Right. both in size, but in elevation change too. This will only be about 18 inches high at the highest point, so it really is a beginner's track.
Yeah.
We do the same thing for skate parks. We'll design a 16,000 square foot skate park, but for a neighborhood park, we'll put in a skate dot, which is about 1,000 square feet. It's just for beginners.
We also included the basketball circle, which is an alternative to a full court because it allows us to have 2 hoops, but without putting in a full-sized basketball court. And it's kind of a unique and fun feature. We've also included the ADA-sized pickleball court because pickleball is wildly popular in recreation. And we also have a large picnic shelter that has 6 tables and a small picnic shelter that has 2 tables that can serve everyday use or larger neighborhood gatherings and parties. Now, the trail system, we got a lot of positive comments on trails. People really like trails, so we maximized trails on this park. We have a loop that goes around the entire perimeter and a lot of these little trails that interconnect in between. We also have a trail that leads up to the Gary Oak tree that's existing, and it's a really big diameter. It's 60 or 80 feet diameter, which is around the drip line of the tree. It'll protect the tree, and we provided some benches around there so people can look out onto the open lawn or into the meadows. We've also provided room for interpretation and art. So at the entrance, there's a little red line that's a welcoming arc that you can walk under that would help brand and identify the neighborhood park. And there's also nodes for interpretation, which could tell the history of Trails End Arena and the site, or there could be room for art installation. Now, along the trail that's on the edge of the Kettle, we've got 2 overlook locations. This first overlook in the middle has an interpretive component to it, and the second overlook more to the south is a secondary viewpoint to the Kettle. We've also determined, we've also provided an open lawn space that's adjacent to the park core, which is the darker green, and then everywhere else is prairie or meadow, and we're also incorporating mounds in the prairie, which range from 2 to 4 feet maximum, and they are similar to the MEMA mounds that we have regionally.
So the green area you see there would be lawn, irrigated, mowed, and the lighter green / yellow is the meadow grass.
Does the green lawn interact with the meadow type grass? Is it gonna be difficult to maintain? Like, I see it's
So
mixed.
the only difference is where you mow. And, yeah, I don't envision a hard edge there, but a soft edge. So it's just where Dan and the crew are gonna mow. And, yeah, that's gonna creep in a little bit, because it always does, but that's just part of the transition.
Soft edge.
Yeah.
We also got a lot of comments about the flowering trees along 79th, and people really like those. And they probably will need to come out with this development. So we've included a line.
The frontage improvement.
With the frontage improvements, which is the sidewalks along Trails End and 79th. So we've included cherry trees along both of those streets. And the other green trees within the park are additional Gary Oak trees. We're proposing new ones to be planted within the park.
On the trails map, when you jump back and forth, what's the hash
Sure.
marks for? What does that
Hash
represent?
mark.
Like down there between, around the large Gary Oak, down the southeast corner?
Those are trails, but not part of the measured part of it.
Yeah.
You mean the black?
I think
dash
you
line?
mean the little circles, or
No,
are you meaning?
it's not part of the trails.
Yeah, like this one right there.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like it's gravel, all trails are paved.
Same trail, she
Mhm.
just didn't measure it. It's not part
Yeah.
of the measured part. Yeah.
Mhm.
What we're trying to do, there was 2 or 3 people that asked, how long are these trails? You
I
know,
always wanna know, how many
Yeah.
miles did I walk?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. And we'll get to that too, so everyone can see it. So the last thing on this preferred alternative is our layout. So we have oriented the picnic shelters, the playground, everything sort of angles towards the Kettle, so you get that as the backdrop and you get the views of it. And the the location and placement of all the program elements are also for visibility. So if you're a family or you're a parent and you're at the playground or the fitness station, you can see the pump track from where you're at. You could see the basketball court. You can see the restroom. So there's a lot of visibility in the park core.
And we don't have any shrub beds in here.
Mhm.
So the cherry trees, the Gary oaks, which you all know well, they're all high branch. So when you're in the street looking into the park, you're looking underneath the canopy in some places. You'll be able to see just about everything in that park from one spot, anywhere in that park. And that's all has to do with safety. So you can assess the threat and, you know, flight or
So
flight.
lighting in the park in the evening, is there any?
No. Typically, the only light will be in the park will be a sconce light over the restroom. What's that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly there'll be streetlights.
Yeah.
Yeah,
along
there'll be
the edge,
streetlights.
yes.
So that's why we propose those mounds, is to provide visual interest in the landscape, and it changes the elevation along the trails. And we also, there's a functional purpose to it too. So we're using a lot of the rubbing material from construction to make those mounds, because they already exist on your site. And Bob can go into that if you want. Okay, so the next page, which is also in your packet, is the trails.
Sorry, Joe.
Oh, that's okay. Okay. Okay, well, I'll just leave it at that. So we're showing different loops. These are just a few different loops that you can make on the trail system we've designed. The red outer loop is about 1/2 a mile. The blue loop is about 1/3 of a mile, and the green loop is about 1/10 of a mile. And those black dashed lines are all of the intersecting trails between. But this is an example of the walking loops you can do in the park. And there's new ones you can create too.
So the trails are envisioned to be 6-foot wide, asphalt paved, except for in the park core. So you can't see it, but if you look on this graphic here, you'll see a different color. The area that, this area right here, and it loops around here, and that one, that's all concrete. That's envisioned as concrete. All the rest of the trails are asphalt.
And I've zoomed in on the screen too.
Why? Because there's more things going on right there, and they'll last longer, and they'll hold up better, and Stan will think before. Historic park. Stan wants all the trails to be concrete, and so would I, but,
That sounds like part of phasing.
yeah.
Sorry, side question, on the bioretention facilities, are they permanently full of water, or is it like runoff water, or?
That remains to be determined. Don Carney and his consultants are designing that. And, I don't know if it'll be a wet pond infiltration gallery or what, and I don't even know if they know at this point.
Thought of what you would like to see, any interest in a wet pond?
A wet pond would be, I prefer a wet pond, but also know Martha, who lives next to it, wet pond brings frog, and they're rather loud for the month of February, March, but it'll be a summer
Right,
hit.
man.
I have a retention pond across the street from me, and I sleep just fine, but, I love wet to bring wildlife, but, you know, the city and what we maintain and how we deal with it.
But wet ponds generally provide, that's the treatment for stormwater. A lot of times you can incorporate that in the treatment. So, that is a consideration, is that, but certainly what you mentioned is worth listening to as well. And it would likely be on the closest to 79th. You start with the wet pond and then you go into a detention, infiltration pond following it. So the size of each of those required, we don't know yet, we haven't done any stormwater analysis. And that's coming later this year, we'll be working on that. So we'll talk again some more. Phillips, sure.
As we continually go back to safety, standing water with kids in water that may or may not be supervised. And depending on the slopes that lead down to the water in the pond, we may or may not have to fence that. I'd like to stay away from additional fencing, just to, secure things as they are. But yeah, as Tom said, we gotta get the numbers back and see what the actual amounts are. Both drains and all that.
So before you go off that second page, I had a number of residents who were commenting about the operations and maintenance facility parking area. It's a lot bigger in this preferred master plan picture than the concept.
No, it's not. What it was shown in the concept is it showed one color on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, future expansion.
Right. So you
But it
take
was all still the same. It's, what you see here is all still the same area, square footage has not changed.
Okay.
Right.
But
It was a little confusing the way we illustrated it. So I made the executive decision just that we'll just show it the way it is and don't call it future expansion because it confuses me.
So that was not gonna be my question. My question, because of the comments, was, and the questions that the people that live in that area had brought up, is why the parking is not across the street on Trails End area. And
Yeah, that's really
so I did not have an answer to that question at all.
nor should you.
I just said you might want to put that on a sticky note and we can address it at our next park commission meeting, maybe ask the question to designers and stuff like that. And see what the actual answer was.
It's really not our issue. It's transportation and engineering, it's their facility. We are jointly sharing this property that the general fund, purchased. We're at a point where it's more parkland than we can afford to develop, so having a parking lot there doesn't really affect our ability to provide recreational services. Facility. Their needs for an operation facility take up the entire, 6 acres, on the west side. So rather than shifting and putting the park on the west side and putting them on the east side with a larger plot, we ended up with more park property by doing it this way, than the other way. So we're accommodating their parking, we're all on one team, so it's not us against them. I know some neighbors don't like it.
They don't see it that way.
That's the way it works.
They see they're missing out on a corner of their park.
Yeah.
Several of them said that they went to city council and that city council promised that the parking was gonna be across the street. I'm just relaying what I.
Yeah, there are, 3 or 4 very vocal people, and you may have seen that night, I spent like half the night with one person, that was really upset about that. We're not addressing that, we're sending all of those comments about the office facility to transportation and engineering.
Oh, good. Absolutely. That was gonna be my last point, was
Where do we
our
send them?
decision to do this in this master plan.
Yeah.
This came out of negotiations and such with the
And
city and
meetings
other
and city council.
other groups.
Yeah,
So we're not making that decision, it's been made by other groups,
by the city
by
council.
the city council.
Right. If individual council members, inadvertently told someone something that where they thought they heard something different, maybe that happened, but the city council as a whole has approved this plan.
Make sure I made good on my promise to bring it up at our Parks Commission, and we got an answer, so thank you very much for that.
One more thing on the master plan is fencing. So we've included a 3-rail wood fence around the perimeter along Trails End, along this border for the future parking, and then along 79th and then halfway up Arab Drive. So that fencing is 3-4 feet tall. It's made out of wood. It's got kind of a rustic character.
You've seen it before. It's all over Richland County.
Yeah. So it provides a little bit of a barrier for safety, but you could still see through it.
And it's got a rural feel to it.
Yeah.
So you'll also see that we have it around the pump track too.
Yes. Mhm.
No,
Oh,
it's the spun pine logs.
the round one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Like with tenon ends that.
exactly. That's the one.
All right, can I go back to the parking? Is
Sure.
it gonna be, not that it's on our agenda or our topic, but is chain link fenced with a gate that lets only city vehicles parked on the side of that after hours or during, or do we know? Does anybody know?
That was the plan.
Okay. So the final boards are the image boards. And based on sticker dots and comments, people really liked the Trails and Arena theme and the equestrian theme, and they also liked the nature play and kind of the contemporary play structures. So based on that, we merged the two, and the preferred theme for the park is this nature and agrarian/equestrian theme. So what we show is we could have barn-like or treehouse type structures made out of a natural wood tone, and we could use colors, green colors and earth colors. We can also incorporate climbing boulders and logs and ropes to add to that natural feel, but we can also incorporate those agrarian equestrian type elements. So we've got lumber or timber detailing. This image also shows the program elements and amenities for the preferred plan, so pump track, pickleball, basketball, fitness stations. This one has the welcome arc on it. This next board shows the picnic shelter that has the weather vane on top, open lawn, and then several furnishings such as benches, pet waste stations, picnic tables, bike racks, and then we show trails, interpretive signs, and then we show the Nema Mound inspired prairie, and then the equestrian art, equestrian themed art, which was really popular with the community. So you kind of get a sense of the character that we're starting to develop. With that, we would like to open it up to your questions and comments, and also if Bob would like to add anything else.
Questions or comments first, if you have any.
Yes.
And then we can talk about if we were to phase this, what would you like to see first and second? But let me preface that by saying the first thing that we would have to do is, you know, put in utilities, do the earthwork, because we're not gonna be building something, then come back later and destroy it. You know, we gotta do all the, basically the park infrastructure first.
Like trails and the lawn and prairie.
We would have to do something like that, because once we look at the drawing,
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to do those things first.
Gravel parking lot, or asphalt parking lot here, big crushed, this is gravel, but it's also crushed concrete pieces in there. Couple things we can do, we can build on top of that, which means we need fill put on top of that, or we can scrape it up and bury it. And done both. So,
but you have to do that in the first phase, because it changes the vertical grade of everything. So we have to shape that vertical grade in the first phase. What we don't have to do is put the pump track in, put it in a large picnic shelter, even a small picnic shelter. You can put in the playground later if you wanted to. You can put in trails first. All those other elements can be kind of plugged and played once you get the finished grade set. Basketball court, the pickleball court.
Is it based mainly on the cost aspect or time?
Always. Yeah, I think that Chuck and Parks would like to do all this at once.
Yeah,
I would like to do it at once.
Yeah.
Look,
but where are we gonna get the money for it?
There is a cost savings of doing it all at once rather than doing it twice. You know, just mobilization and hiring and contracting and all that stuff a little bit. You know, things will continue to get more expensive as well. So, you know, if you're talking, if we're doing $1 million phase and $1 million phase, but that, you know, first phase is $1 million for a $2 million park. That second phase is suddenly gonna be $1.5 million. So there's some desire to do it all, like, if we can. But that, you know, that's ultimately a decision of if the park's gonna cost more, decision of the city council and the Tumwater Metropolitan Park District Board, which is the city council sitting in different seats with different hats, basically. and that maybe sounds like a game of play, but that's the way that works, by state law. So, your recommendations are the backbone of how that goes to city council. So I want you to be ensured that, you know, and know that you're part of the process and we need your input on that. So as we move forward with this and we get to the point where we're talking dollars and cents, that'll be a big.
I feel like what I heard was, that most of the community residents thought the park was already paid for, or there was a little indecision between, we couldn't have the, maintenance and ops facility without the park. The park.
Yeah, that's a rumor that went around the neighborhood,
Right.
yeah, similar to a lot of other rumors. The park, the park is purchased, we have set aside $1 million to build. Because of the size of the park and the cost, inflation of everything, that's not gonna do it. So, our options are going to be to go back to the city council and the Metropolitan Park District Board, and present them with options. You know, there's a lot of things we can play around with and change, and Bob has a lot of experience with that, with different park elements. There's also ways that we can go into the art fund, our department's art fund, to do the art piece of this. We can go to the tree board and ask for money for shrubs or any kind of vegetation that we want to put in. We can try to hit different pockets of money. The city council has the option of moving money from the city's general fund capital facilities plan into this park project if they so choose to supplement funding. Or the Metropolitan Park District Board could rearrange funds within other projects that we have coming up and dedicate that to this at this time, and then figure out a different way to fund them.
There's grants.
Are there any particular grants you know of that would apply to this project?
RCO, YAF, youth athletic facilities, local parks, and even the land and water conservation. If you got all three of those, you could get $1.35 million. Land and water is actually,
Grant writer on staff, anyone?
land and water is actually, you can get $1 million.
This grant cycle is coming up this next year for 2024.
Right.
So it's biannual. Kind of timely.
But you have to have matching funds.
Yes.
Right, but we would, because we have the $1 million. Well, I guess we would be short of 0.3, but I bet we could find that. It's cheaper than finding another $1 million.
In your back pocket, Chad.
The thing with grants, though, they're not guaranteed and they're pretty
Right.
competitive
They're not guaranteed,
process.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So they will prioritize underserved communities and such, and there's a list of things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, it's at least good to know that there's an option rather than there's just no way, right?
Lights for those grants to apply for them too as well.
Right? Next year. Yeah. So who's our grant writer? You?
We've done grants, we got grants for Pioneer Park. Historical Park was originally all grant funded,
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere First Park.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of staff time to do it. We didn't do any grants, the last two cycles, because we didn't have staff time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And not a lot of people have to take a fair amount of time to do it right. RCO is a very competitive process. With this project up against what the city of Bellevue wants to do, we don't compare so well, so you have to really do a good job of selling your project. You have some unique things and show real need. This is not a difficult piece to sell. The park's there, there's a lot of people there, somewhat unique, its history. So it has a chance, I would say. We can hire people to help us do grant applications. We've had Bob help us before.
Yeah,
The Shoots Valley Trail grant
we're
application.
pretty skilled at it.
So it seems like an opportunity, we should at least look and see if there's one or two of the three that would be, worth the time and effort to put into it, instead of just letting that go by, since we already know we don't have enough money to do everything we want in this plan.
It does take a while.
Well, that's why I said
Yeah.
pick one or two of the three, not like, obviously, all three of them. It seems like it would be too much of time investment, but,
And that's why I talk about phases, Your phases properly, what you would do is put up the utilities in. You would mass grade the whole thing at once. And ideally, you'd put in the restroom and the trails. So everything's that great. Now you come in, you put in the playground, put in the basketball court. Doesn't have that much disruption with the rest of the park, and you just plug and play as you go.
When you look at that second poster board there, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like, hey, that looks like a great park, or do you feel like something's missing there, or is it too much, or what was behind that? You got any, how do you feel about it?
I do love the amount of trails. I mean, it's more than any of the plans had, and I like that a lot. I kind of like how the pickleball court is set up against, I didn't realize that was a 3-rail fence. I was thinking it would be set up against a chain link fence so the balls wouldn't go into the parking lot.
Well, that's up for discussion because Don just said it's gonna be a chain link fence and most likely it would be for security. And
So you'd want a chain link all
I
the
think
way
you'd
around.
want a chain link fence
Okay.
around that parking area, because what we don't want is people, it's gonna be very difficult to control access to that. So we don't want people pulling in there and parking and then walking around. They don't want the public to use that. And there's plenty of parking on 79 for this park. So having that chain link fence does provide security that Public Works is looking for. And it works both ways.
Mhm.
So park patrons can't go in there either.
Right, which I'm sure the people that own the cars will appreciate.
Wouldn't pickleball have a fence enclosure around it?
And they put fence enclosure around it, yes, sir.
That's, okay.
Just not seeing one being enough, though.
I agree with that.
But again, we're back to the neighborhood park community
Yeah.
thing.
Even as a community park, having just one, something tells me is not enough.
It'll be full, absolutely. And what do we need to do? We need to build more, but not,
I mean, at least two.
we don't want to
are-
send everybody here because we don't.
No,
have
I would not say that. I'm not saying as popular as it was at the event and the comments that came back, and I saw somebody noted just one isn't enough. I have to agree with that. Just one isn't enough. Two, be safe, but one just,
What if I tell you they cost $90,000 each?
okay, you got change for a million.
Yeah. That's the game that we're gonna end up playing.
Yeah. But I would say that even if you only do one, then have spacing set aside for a second one that can be plug and play later on. So, because right now you get four trees around it for just one.
That would be easy to do. We would either move it to the east or the west, and there's plenty of room there.
Yeah.
Lots of room right there, and
Yeah.
lots of room right there.
Right, so I'd say start with one, but plant at least two as a plug and play.
May not do it for 10 years, but at least you got the space.
Yeah.
Mhm. Any thoughts about, I guess I'm curious why only 2 different kinds of trees?
Well, because the Gary oak is a prominent tree and a native tree around.
Yeah, I totally understand
Actually,
why you
there
think
is
the Gary oak.
There's actually 3 types of trees. The northern buffer there are Doug firs.
Okay, I was thinking that was the flowering cherries that were along the edge.
These are Doug firs.
Those are Doug firs.
Those are the
Okay.
cherries, and these are Gary oaks. And they don't have to be. I mean, we.
Oh, I love that
we
they're
can
Gary
put
oak.
more-
It's
Yeah,
very
The
monochromatic.
biggest problem with the Gary oaks is you can't find them.
Mm.
If you find a Gary oak, it's gonna be that big. You won't find any 2-inch or even 1-inch caliber Gary oaks. They don't grow.
Mhm.
It'll be a long time before you see trees
Yeah,
like
it'll be a
that,
long time.
maybe.
I would bet money that Gary oak that's there was there when George and Isabel Bush were walking on the prairie, huh?
You remember? What was the tree report on that? 147?
Yeah.
That's a really special tree.
That's a special tree.
It has been nominated to be on the National Tree Historic Register. When that comes back.
The design doesn't honor it enough? You want a special bench around it instead of a regular bench?
No, I remember one of the program elements had a bench that went actually around the tree completely.
It was curved.
Curved.
One we had circular, you know, the idea is it's curved around it. I will tell you that the roots go, I've done 4 projects around Gary Oaks and had to cut close to them, as close as 12 feet, never hit them, roots, because the roots go deep. And in this soil, they really go deep. Because it's
Good
easy
soil.
soil, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying we cut up next to it, I'm saying we respect it and give it distance.
Mhm.
For the 2 overlooks that go over the kettle, are we gonna do anything in the kettle as far as modifying landscape or clearing it?
Yes, we didn't cover that. What I figured on is invasive species removal and then restoration type planting. So seedlings, 12-inch, 14-inch seedlings, nothing big. And just plant right through the grass there. The biggest thing is getting rid of the invasive species and then staying on top of it. That's the tough thing.
What are the couple largest of the invasive ones, the blackberry, other?
Blackberry. Telling Chuck, I'm really surprised blackberry doesn't cover that entire slope. It covers a lot of it, but not the entire slope.
Could be an impediment, in other words, you talked about putting fill in over the gravel area, but would that be an impediment for the root system of those Gary Oak trees? So would it be likely that you would just remove that busted concrete and all of that from that area?
We would want to know where we're planting. The concrete is just like gravel right now.
Mhm.
So one of the things that we would want to do is mix that up. So my first preference is to excavate this area right here, about a foot, take all of that gravel, bury it along with the grubbing. So we've got to grub the whole site, about 4 inches. It's a fair amount of dirt. Now we can, and then take that clean dirt and then fill it over the whole site and create our little mounds right there. So we really wouldn't have a lot of exposure with the concrete aggregate and the big trees. And when we dig the tree, we'll hit it anyway. It's not solid concrete.
Yeah.
It's just like having gravel and soil. The roots will go around it. But you'll save anywhere from $10 to $20 a cubic yard by not hauling it off-site.
Mhm.
And talking thousands of cubic yards.
I do like the idea of them having the foam on the mounds, just because it is a cool, geological feature
Yeah.
or natural feature.
I mean, they're man-made, agreed. You said faux, you're right.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're everywhere, all over the world. You drive to Spokane, you get near Cheney, you'll see them there too.
I wondered about that. I wondered if they were similar, like how they formed was similar to the ones south here.
Well, you can't find anybody, a geologist that will, or geomorphologist that will tell you firmly how they were, what that landform, how it was caused,
Mhm.
what created it.
Mhm.
If we do this right, 2 generations from now, these will be real.
No, exactly, exactly.
Well, I'm curious if Stan has any comments, questions, his input on maintenance and such too, that would benefit our knowledge.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, but I usually. So, grassland, what kind of grass will you plant there?
We're getting into the weeds already, huh?
Well,
Meadows, hey.
I gotta be kidding.
For the meadow grass?
Yeah.
Well, there's fine fescues, there's some, flowering, plants, you know. I don't have the mix, but there are mixes by, Sunmark Seeds down in Oregon that we can purchase that are not 100% native, but mainly native, that you and I will go through.
Twice a year or so?
You'll wanna mow it
Yeah.
We're not gonna irrigate it though. But you'll wanna mow it once or twice a year. And as far as,
I just want to see a final design that everybody's happy with, and we move forward, so we can do a master plan so they can budget maintenance, because that's a big deal.
one of the things that are my deliverable products, a part of this scope, is to generate a maintenance plan by phase. So I'll have all list of all these tasks on the left-hand side of this matrix. Then I'll have all the months, the frequency by which you'll do that task that month, how many minutes it takes to do that task. And, you know, basically it's based off the NRPA maintenance manual, yeah.
Is the larger picnic shelter something that would be reservable or not?
We don't reserve shelters in neighborhood parks.
I didn't think so, but I
Yeah,
wasn't sure,
the
because it was
county does.
bigger.
Yeah. It's smaller than you'd see at Historic Park or at Pioneer Park.
Mhm.
The intent being that the one that's a little larger is for maybe a small family reunion, that kind of thing like that.
Mhm.
Smaller one is maybe kid's birthday party or mix back and forth, but just stuff for the people in the neighborhood to do.
Right.
We won't charge for it, we won't schedule it.
Okay.
Similar for the grass field, it's listed in our parks plan, we don't do organized athletics in neighborhood parks. We typically don't do athletic fields in neighborhood parks, although there is athletic fields in the parks by the middle school. But yeah, generally, it's just for the neighborhood, and they can use it whenever they want, however they want.
Mhm.
First come, first served.
They don't get involved in that, so, their park.
It'll be the next time we get it in front of the community again.
Hopefully in May. Yeah, we'll work with Bob and Ann and refine this a little bit further. I feel like we're at a point we can go back to that group. You know, really go back to them and say, here's what we heard you tell us, or here's what we thought you told us. Here's what it looks like now. Did we hear you right? And same thing we're asking you tonight. What do you think?
And I want to list your services again. We're gonna do kind of the same thing, but a little bit different. So whatever that preferred plan ends up being, there'll be 3 of those, so we're all not standing on one.
Oh, good idea.
But these other boards would be up there as well.
I do like that you didn't use the super western theme in
You know?
the playground and whatnot. Yeah,
Oh, you mean
The
with
voices were
tractor?
heard, that was a pretty strong
Yeah.
statement.
good,
Yeah,
good. I like the, it's still a nod to, it's got the, the treehousey wood, kind of natural.
but it's mixed.
Yeah,
But it's mixed,
the
it's
final,
got contemporary features and, yeah.
final design of the playground and the shelter and all that is yet to be done.
Mhm.
Right now, we're just kind of painting the picture and putting a budget together.
Where's the dance floor gonna go?
Right, that 2-acre piece right in the middle there.
Okay.
Interesting, I've been contacted this last week by 2 different families. One, the Armstrong family, which owned it, the Trails End when it was in its heyday. Yeah, when,
Area of the tree was only 100 years old.
actually, the Armstrong family, you know Josh, most of you know Josh Irwin, who was the recreation coordinator for us at CYP. Eddie Armstrong, who him and his brother owned this, is his grandfather.
Oh.
Josh has family history here. But the Armstrongs contacted me, and then another family contacted me, and actually sent me this huge on the history of this site from pioneer days up until the Armstrongs got it, and then we have the Armstrong information. So we have good information for interpretive signage at the site.
But nothing on the tree, nothing on the tree?
Nothing on the tree.
Ah.
But this wasn't actually in the Bush family homestead, the 640 acres that the Bush family had. It's just to the south of this. But the Bush family house, the house that's on the Bush family homestead, they do have an original Gary Oak there. And we've taken cuttings off of that. And one of them's at Isabel Bush Park, right next to the barn. We planted there. Currently Schneider, Councilman Schneider takes care of that diligently. And we have the opportunity to get a few more of those too. So it's a real.
Good, because we need lots of trees. That's cool.
We need some more cuttings.
I know, that's what I was thinking, do
Yeah,
those
yeah.
cuttings, man.
Let's talk to them.
Start now.
And they would be excited to do that.
So the next one, meeting is with the public meeting, and as I said, there'll be 3 of these, and we'll have those, and I can enlist you folks to help us out, that'd be great. We won't have a vote, there'll be more of a general discussion. If there are some things that folks really like, we want to hear that. If they don't like things, we want to hear that too.
We'll probably hear some of the same comments.
Probably. I think, we started here, now we're about here.
Mhm.
We need to get here.
Mhm.
I think we need to have a unified response to the question about the facility.
About the parking, about the dog park,
Yeah.
about, what's the other one we're gonna hear? Probably
You're talking
the
about unified
community
response about the
garden.
parking, O&M parking area?
Yeah, for the maintenance, yeah. Truck's response was good, we just need to be on the same. We just all need. I need that phrasing written down, so
Well,
I can get it.
I'll get you the.
Have it printed and
Yes,
hand out
please.
the card.
The engineering director's cards, and you can come with that.
Yeah, from the points of view.
Wait, he still do though?
Do we know when that will be, or you'll let us know, calendar-wise?
Yeah, because that's next month, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
so 6 weeks away.
Yeah, Martha, hope you caught that. Next month, we'll see you out there again.
She's not even
She's
yet.
muted.
She's right now, but-
So, yeah, we'll let you know as soon as we know.
Okay.
Depends on whether-
Looking good.
So if there are changes or things you think of, I guess you'll coordinate with us,
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
between
right away.
us. That's cool.
And I'll come up with some, verbiage that you can use to talk about parking lot, because we're really not talking about parking lot, that is a done deal. But we'll say it in a nicer way. And as far as dog park goes, this is, again, this is a neighborhood park, it's not a dog park. A neighborhood park, you would have 200 people here a day or an hour. Florida doesn't have any dog parks, and that's going to be it. That doesn't say we don't need it, we need a skate park, we need more pickleball courts, we need a dog park, a whole list of things we need. But without the staff and funding, we can't do it.
Great,
Okay.
great work. Thank you very much.
See you at public meeting number 2.
Good.
All right, so Chuck, you had, we need some information about park names and the city administrator search.
Park names. How it is.
We don't know what the city council did.
One name.
Spence.
No, we know nothing.
Oh, drama.
For the first time in the history of the Tumwater Parks and Recreation Commission, the city council made a recommendation.
What? That's
I love
amazing.
that.
Yay.
Yeah.
Sucker's good.
Not without controversy.
Oh, good.
There were two council members who opposed it. It ended up being a 4-3 vote, in favor of taking your recommendation. So,
Wow.
that part is all set. So and I'm glad you brought that up, because then now we're gonna transition that into, since we had the kind of a blow up within the city council, they weren't familiar with the park naming ordinance that we have in place in the municipal code.
Really?
We've gone over that with them. We're gonna start the park naming process for this park much earlier, like maybe in May. And get the name before the park is done.
That is a fantastic idea.
So we're gonna get that out of the way. You would think, based on what you hear in the community, that it's gonna be called Trails in the Park.
Yeah, why do
I was gonna say, well, it
It
seems,
seems
yeah.
pretty foregone conclusion,
Yeah,
but.
and that would be fine. But, as we look at parks, are we we've done the historical thing. So I think we've been inclusive with genders, really named parks after, parks don't necessarily have to be named after people. It can be geographic location or past use.
Or past owners.
Yeah. It can be someone who's donated a significant amount of money or land. It can be someone who's an outstanding civic servant, usually dead, that we would name it after. All the things are still options. So we'll throw it out there. We'll go through the process again. See how it turns out.
I love the idea of starting it now, because then we won't walk around calling it one thing and then have a hard time changing the name.
Agreed. It's not harder for anybody more than it's harder for us.
I know.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I recognize
Yeah, that'll be,
that.
we still call it the Shoot Valley Park.
East Street Park.
That was our conversation last month, yeah.
And on the city administrator front, we had 5 candidates that made the finalist list for, the city administrator interviews. We had interviews, yesterday and the day before, 2 separate panels of people, and that was, department directors, school district, chamber, business people, union representation, a variety of people on each of these 2 panels. We interviewed all 5 of the candidates. All 5 of the candidates went with other staff and toured the city to see parks and infrastructure, streets, and development. And then we had a meet and greet last night where the public could come and city council came and just walk around and talk to the candidates and kind of get to know them. The mayor met today with each city council member individually and got their impressions and input on who they thought they liked the best. The 5 candidates, one from the Port of Olympia, one from the City of Olympia, one from Pierce Transit, one from Sandpoint, Idaho, and one from Charleston.
South Carolina or Virginia?
It's Virginia, Charleston. Maybe it's not Charleston.
I don't think it was.
Charleston,
It was
No, it
Charleston.
sounds like that. No, anyway, Virginia.
Charlotte.
Charlotte. Yeah, there you go.
So all good candidates, probably anyone could do the job. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, like you see in any interview process. Since we have a strong mayor form of government, not like Olympia and Lacey where they have strong council, the mayor gets to choose. Ultimately, it's her decision who she hires, and she has the power of hire, fire. So, thank you, Bob. She talked to, after talking to the county today, she was hopeful that she was going to make a decision maybe by tonight. Now, we started over here tonight, she was still over there in her office going through stuff. So, I haven't heard anything yet, but I would say in the next couple of days for sure. Offer the job too.
Did you attend the public meet and greet with the administrator in the evening, like yesterday?
Yes.
How was the turnout for public?
Not great.
Who did they send the notice out to? Because I got it like,
Late.
I got an email the day before.
And that parking lot's not my department. Neither is the public communication either.
Yeah, I just felt like,
Wait a
and we're
minute.
pretty involved, so if we get it the night before, we're more likely to show up than the general public, and I didn't feel like there was a lot of
You can voice that.
information about that.
I don't know anything about that, but I can pass that along.
Maybe I'll respond to the email with, would have loved to attend, but the notice was pretty late.
I have no idea what went on there.
How was progress at the brewmaster's house?
The brewmaster's house has nothing in it. Every item of property down to the walls is gone, in storage. So it is cleaner and more spacious than I've ever seen it. All the wallpaper has been removed, down to the shiplap boards inside the house. And we're meeting with our insurance adjuster here shortly with the contractor to see how they are going to be for our next step. So the Historic Commission is touring it tomorrow night to be brought up to speed on how that's going. Public meeting, just like this one is, so if you'd like to attend, you could. will be touring the Brewmasters Hut event in Crosby.
Tomorrow, or?
Green Flash Hut, yeah, tomorrow at 6:30.
No, it'll be the baseball game.
In the rain.
Yep.
Wait, well,
Yeah.
Crosby
At the rec, so we'll be playing.
That's all I have, unless you have more questions for me.
I don't, appreciate the updates.
Yes, thank you.
All right. I think we've covered everything. Do you have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Oh, our,
Motion to adjourn.
and before we finalize that, our next meeting is May 17th.
That could be the day we shoot for
Yeah, that would be great,
public meeting.
Yeah, that would be great, because my,
not to double down on another meeting in the same month.
yeah, well, yeah. Good, well then, let's adjourn our meeting, and I'll see you guys next month. Gavel.
Yeah, where's your gavel at?
No gavel anymore. I missed the gavel.
So meet at Crosby House at 6:30 tomorrow, or meet here first?
Brewmaster Hut.